You know, when you think about the Cold War, you probably think of spies, submarines, maybe the space race. But there was another race going on, a supersonic showdown to build the world's very first passenger jet that could fly faster than sound. On one side, you had the sleek Anglo-French Concorde, and on the other, the Soviet Union's challenger, the Tupolev Tu-144. But here's the real head-scratcher we're going to get into. The Soviet jet, it was actually bigger, it was faster, and it beat the Concorde to the sky on pretty much every single milestone. So how is it that one is remembered today as this beloved icon, and the other is basically a footnote, a cautionary tale? How did the plane that seemed to win the race end up losing so badly?
All right, let's dive in. See, to really get these planes, you've got to understand the times they were born in. The Cold War wasn't just a military standoff, right? It was a clash of systems, a battle of ideologies. And building a supersonic passenger jet, well, that was the ultimate flex. It was a massive symbol of technological power, a way to shout to the world that your way of life was just better.
And just look at this timeline. The Soviets were under crushing pressure from the Kremlin to be first, no matter what. And they delivered. First flight? That was the Tu-144. First to go supersonic to break the sound barrier? Tu-144 again. First to hit twice the speed of sound, or Mach 2? Yep, you guessed it, the Tu-144. On paper, it was a total clean sweep.
So, based on those early victories, you'd think that's it, right? Story over. The Tu-144 looked like the clear winner in this supersonic fight. But the specs, the raw numbers, they tell an even bigger story.
Let's look at the tail of the tape. The Tu-144 was faster, hitting Mach 2.15 compared to Concorde's 2.04. It could carry way more people, up to 140 passengers. In a race this tight, those look like knockout blows. But take a closer look at that range. Concorde could fly farther. That's our very first clue that something's not quite right here. And this is where the whole story just completely flips on its head. That relentless, desperate push to be first meant the Soviet engineers had to cut corners, a lot of corners, and those shortcuts created these deep, critical flaws in the design, flaws that would prove to be fatal. Being first, it turns out, came at a terrifying price. Okay, so here it is, the single biggest, most critical design flaw of them all. To stay supersonic, the Tu-144 had to keep its afterburners on, full blast, the entire time. Think of it like this, it's like flooring the gas pedal in your car for hours on end. It absolutely demolished its fuel supply, which is why its range was so poor. Concorde, on the other hand, was an engineering marvel. It could supercruise. That meant it only needed its afterburners for a short burst to break the sound barrier, and then it could pull back to its normal engines to cruise at Mach 2. This was a huge advantage. And those afterburners, blasting away for hours, well, they had a very real, very unpleasant effect on the people stuck inside. The cabin was a nightmare. I mean, it says it right here. The noise and the vibration were so bad that passengers literally had to write notes to talk to the person sitting next to them. Flying supersonic was an incredible achievement, sure, but on the Tu-144, it was a miserable experience.
And the problems just kept stacking up. The avionics were clunky and outdated, nothing like Concorde's advanced computers. It had to use a drag parachute to slow down on landing, like an old fighter jet. This whole cascade of failures led to the ultimate disaster. It crashed horrifically at the 1973 Paris Air Show, with the whole world watching.
This number tells you everything. In the incredibly short time it was actually in service, the Tu-144 had 226 recorded failures. And get this, 80 of them, 80 happened in mid-flight. This plane wasn't just uncomfortable or inefficient, it was fundamentally, profoundly unsafe. So, with a plane this rushed, this flawed, and this similar looking to its rival, you start to wonder. And that brings us to one of the wildest parts of this whole story, the rampant rumors of industrial espionage. Was the Tu-144 really a groundbreaking Soviet design, or was it just a bad copy of the Concorde? It didn't take long for people to give it a nickname, Concordski. And that wasn't just a clever joke. It was a serious accusation that the Soviets had built their plane using stolen blueprints from the Concorde program. And honestly, there's a lot of evidence that suggests that's exactly what happened. I mean, this isn't just a theory. Soviet agents were literally caught red-handed with Concorde documents on multiple occasions. One spy was arrested right after getting a congratulations message from Moscow for snagging the complete set of plans. And then there's my favorite part of this whole spy story, a popular, though totally unproven legend that the Concorde engineers figured they were being spied on, so they intentionally planted flawed blueprints for the Soviets to steal. A little Cold War head game. Okay, so let's put it all together. When you strip away the politics, the spies, the race to be first, what are you left with? The final tally, the operational history of these two planes, tells you everything you need to know.
Just look at this chart. The difference is absolutely insane. The Tu-144, the plane that was faster, bigger, and first to do everything, completed a grand total of 55 passenger flights. 55. That's it. Concorde, on the other hand, flew around 50,000 times. 55 versus 50,000. It's not even a contest.
So in the end, the Tu-144 story is really a cautionary tale about what happens when you prioritize propaganda and speed over safety and solid engineering. Concorde's legacy, built on patient, brilliant design, is that of a true aviation icon that flew passengers safely for 27 years. And it leaves us with this big question, doesn't it? The Tu-144 won all the early sprints, but Concorde absolutely dominated the marathon. It just goes to show you that real innovation, truly great engineering, isn't just about being the first or the fastest. It's about getting it right. It's about reliability, quality, and endurance. After all, what's the point of breaking a record if your creation can't stand the test of time?